Came for my wins, I need my ends. This life is real, don't play pretend. Came off the bench, I get it in, I get it in, I get it in. Came for my wins, I need my ends. This life is real, can't play pretend. Came off the bench, I get it in, I get it in, I get it in. I'm on my job, I get it done, but you should know that. Shine like a sun, a 101, you should know that. I get the front and in the back, you should know that. No need to stun, it's never cap, you should know that. All I know, 10 toes, never fold, bang roll, on the go, ice wall, ice wall, ice wall. Came for my win.
It's FYF Sportsman, it's Lamont. We are back with another podcast episode. Hey man, and today is our NBA play-in prediction special. The season ended just as thrilling as it started. And I think the play-in games really kept people engaged, especially towards the end of the season. These games mattered all the way down to the very last day of the season. And there were multiple teams playing for something, whether it was for seeding, whether it was strategic-wise to either move up or move down to get out of certain spots. It made today, the last day of the season, a very, very interesting day. Now, we still don't know the final postseason seedings until the new play-in tournament concludes on Friday. Now, and that's one day before the playoffs actually start on May 22nd. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a breakdown. And we're going to focus on the 7 and 8 play-in games in both conferences, in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, because I think there's a lot there. There's a lot to consider. I think there's more questions in the East as opposed to the Western Conference. We're going to be breaking all of that down. We're going to be breaking down the matchups, and we're going to be giving you guys our predictions on who we feel are going to come out the winners of both of those games. We're also going to talk about the 19 games on both sides as well, but I really, really want to focus in on those 7 and 8 seeded play-in games. I think those are going to be some of the most thrilling matchups that we have going into the NBA playoffs. Before we get started, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to the video. Grinding to 25K. This is the year of 100K. Again, it's a slow and steady grind. We're going to get there. All right, we're going to get there. We're going to keep pushing out this content. Again, we're going to try to find more ways to keep the community engaged. We still got the FYF Sports Community Basketball event on deck. That's still planned. We haven't hit our donation goal. Really, we'll love to see more of you guys chip in. But again, if you guys want to make it happen, you guys know where we're at with the donations. All you got to do is donate to support. Once we hit that $5,000 marker, our sponsors will kick in. They'll match it, and they'll make the event happen. We'll give you guys more details on that in our live stream tonight. But today we got to talk about the play-in games. I want to focus on the Eastern Conference. The two teams that I primarily want to focus in are going to be the Boston Celtics at the 7th seed and the Washington Wizards at the 8th seed. Both teams very, very intriguing. Both teams have points of emphasis that I really want to touch on. We're going to be touching on that as well. And then the Western Conference, I think this is probably going to be the highest rated game of the year between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. When the season started, these are two teams that no one would have predicted would have fell into the play-in series. When we thought about the play-in series in the Western Conference, we thought about teams like Memphis. We thought about teams like Sacramento, New Orleans. We didn't think about two powerhouses over the last 10 years being in this play-in game. And not just two powerhouses. You talk about two of the top players of this era going head-to-head in a single elimination play-in game. And it's not necessarily elimination, but the loser of this game will have to play the winner of the 9-10 game, which is a potential elimination game there. So there's a lot at stake here. 7th seed to 8th seed. I think a lot of the top seeds are really watching, especially that 1 or 2 seed, because whoever gets that Laker draw, if the Lakers can make it out of these play-in games, will that top seed be the favorite in that series? I think that will be maybe one of the first times in NBA history that we've had a 1 or 2 seed not heavily favored to win out in the first round. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to get to the drawing board. We're going to break down these matchups. Again, we're going to be very brief today. I'm not going to drag this on. I want to touch on these matchups. I want to hit on some of the focal points, and then I'm going to give you guys my predictions on who I think is going to capture the 7 and 8 seed in both conferences. Let's get to the drawing board. Now, in the Eastern Conference, we have that matchup that I spoke on earlier. We have the Washington Wizards, and we have the Boston Celtics. Now, both teams are trending, but trending in two very different directions. We have the Boston Celtics, as you can see here, a team with a lot of really, really high expectations going into this season with the roster that they had. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. Everybody thought we would see the emergence of Taco Fall, Carson Edwards. They had a lot of young guys. Tristan Thompson, as you can see. I mean, they brought in players where you felt this team could really make a run in the Eastern Conference. But as the season played out, this team still showed signs that they had the same flaws as they did last year. The lack of depth on this bench. Danny Ainge has yet to address that, and that haunted this team all season, especially when the injury bug hit this team. And not just the injury bug, but the COVID-19 bug. That's something that's going on this year. So as that affected this team, not just on-court issues, but it looked like off-court issues really affected their chemistry. It looked like there could have been some clashes with the coaching. It looks like players, I think Brad Stevens may have lost his locker room, but it's definitely showing on the court. Celtics fell to the 7th seed. And this is not something we expected in the Eastern Conference, but yet we are here. Jaylen Brown, unfortunately, has had a season-ended injury. He has successful surgery, but he's going to miss the playoffs regardless of the results of this playing game. And I think that loss right there is going to have a heavy impact on how this team can thrive in the playoffs. So Jason Tatum, he has a tall task ahead of him to lead this young team. Can they beat the Washington Wizards? Let's go on to the Washington Wizards and speak on what they have in dealing with the Boston Celtics in this play-in matchup. Now, the Washington Wizards, again, a team really started the season off in the complete opposite as what we see the Boston Celtics. They started the season off losing their starting center, Thomas Bryant. Bradley Beal dealing with injuries. The trade, getting John Wall up out of there, bringing in Russell Westbrook, trying to acclimate his game, seeing how it's going to fit with this nucleus of players. Then the COVID-19 bug really decimated this team, and this team started the season off playing horrible. We even thought this team would possibly miss the playoffs. Russell Westbrook, when he got fully healthy, he activated. He galvanized this team. They started to play together. They started to find their groove. Guys on the bench really started to step up, and we started to see how deadly that this Washington Wizard team could be if they could get in as an 8, 7, or even 6 seed if they were able to win enough games. But they find themselves at the 8 seed. They did a great job towards the end of the season, not giving up. They continued to fight. That's one thing I like about it. Russell Westbrook did not let this team give up. Bradley Beal came back from injuries. He dealt with some things. He came in, and whenever he played great. This tandem looks to be poised to get out of this 7-8 game. So my prediction for the Boston Celtics Washington Wizards game is I'm predicting the Washington Wizards to win this game. I think it's going to be a close matchup. The Boston Celtics team, they're not going to be a tough out. With Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart, Tristan Thompson, they have a lot of playoff experience on that roster, but I think ultimately the depth and lack of scoring off the bench is really going to affect them, especially against a Washington Wizard team who plays one of the fastest paces in the NBA. All right, when they play one of the fastest paces in the NBA, and I do not think that the Boston Celtics will be able to keep up. I have the Washington Wizards winning out in that 7-8 round matchup. All right, our next matchup in the Western Conference. One of the most intriguing matchups that we have, especially for a play-in game. Everybody's going to be watching Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors versus LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Warriors have had a very, very up and down season. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. They started off the season on a low without Draymond Green, without James Wiseman due to COVID-19. They get those guys back, then they go on a short burst of winning some games. right? Then they deal with another myriad out of injuries where Steph Curry hurts his tailbone. James Wiseman gets hurt again. Kelly Oubre in and out the lineup. Draymond Green had to sit a few games here and there again. Again, it's been a very, very odd and up and down season, but they hit their stride at the right time. When you got players on the bench like Jordan Poole, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Damian Lee, all of these guys seem to find their stride at the right time, and they help propel this Golden State Warrior team when back in February, you had people running around saying this Golden State Warrior team wouldn't make the playoffs. All right, go look at Ticket TV. He made $1,000 bets with people like Spiffy running around making these bets with random people saying they won't make the playoffs. Well, it looks like the Golden State Warriors, even though they sit at that 8 seed, they have a high probability of getting into that 8 seed by if they can't beat the Lakers, then they have to beat a 9 or 10 seed, depending on who wins that lower tier game. But Steph Curry leads the league in scoring. He's playing at an MVP level. He looks unstoppable right now. The shots that he's taking and the shots that he's making right now is essentially unguardable. All right, so it's going to be about what can the Lakers do to slow down the hottest player in basketball, Steph Curry. What can they do to slow down this Golden State Warrior offense? And let's not forget, this Golden State Warrior team is not all offense. They've been top 10 in defense all year in the NBA with all of the injuries. So Steve Kerr's been able to coach this team up defensively. They can defend at a high level. All right, but will this Golden State Warrior team, outside of Steph Curry, be able to score the ball? We've seen the struggles with Draymond Green. We've seen teams leave him wide open on the perimeter. Is Draymond Green going to take shots? Are they going to be able to turn defensive stops into fast breaks where he thrives? We have to see. The Lakers are masters of slowing down the game, but let's take a look at what the Lakers have. All right, we got the Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the cast over there. I think the Lakers, the one luxury that they have is I think they have some of the best, most complete role players in the NBA. These guys know their role, not just know their role, but they respect and enjoy their roles. You don't have guys really going out there trying to play out of pocket, out of body, trying to do things that they're not scouted out to be doing. But the Lakers, the one thing they have in their favor is they're getting healthy at the right time. Dennis Schroeder's finally back from injury. Anthony Davis is back from injury. LeBron James is back from injury. All right, Kuzma's finally healthy. And they're getting all of these guys back at the right time. All right. And again, up and down as well. They started the season off on highs. Anthony Davis gets hurt. All right. We thought LeBron James could cruise and keep them afloat, but then LeBron James, wildly goes down with injury, something that we've never seen before. You know what? And when many thought the Lakers would fall, they dropped from 4 to 7. We knew that they would drop without Bron and AD, but they've been able to maintain. Those guys came back. They held out. They really made a push. They really made a push for that 6th seed. Couldn't get it because of the tiebreaker with Portland, but they put up a good fight. Now they're in the play-in game against the Warriors. Our prediction is that LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, they beat the Golden State Warriors in a game that I feel probably won't be as close as a lot of people believe. I believe that the Lakers will pull away in the 4th with their experience. I don't think it's going to be as close, but you never know with the shooting of Steph Curry. He can probably keep it closer. I just think the Lakers have so much scoring coming off that bench. I don't think the Lakers have enough scoring off their bench to really compete. I think the Warriors don't have enough scoring off their bench to really compete with the Los Angeles Lakers. However, I do have to go Golden State Warriors possibly moving on in that second play-in game. I mean, there we have it right there. Eastern Conference, I got the Washington Wizards moving on. Western Conference, I got the Los Angeles Lakers moving on. Both of those teams will capture the 7th seed in their respective conferences. Golden State Warriors moving on to play the 9-10 winner, Memphis or San Antonio, while we have the Boston Celtics playing the winner of the 9-10 game in the Eastern Conference. I think that's the Pacers and the Charlotte Hornets. I think in the Eastern Conference, again, there are a lot more questions over there. I don't think the lower seeded teams, the 9-10 teams, are strong enough to really compete with the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry's shown that he has a propensity to really get those teams up out of here. I don't think they can guard them. So I think the Warriors are at least a lock for the 8th seed. But when we go to that Eastern Conference, the one team, the 9-10 team that really would worry me is gonna be the Charlotte Hornets. Now the Charlotte Hornets are dealing with a myriad of injuries themselves. They don't have their full starting lineup. So again, the chances of them really winning 2 games in a row against any team right now is probably slim to none, but it could potentially happen. LaMelo Ball has shown that he can take over games and he can make clutch plays at the end of games. If the Charlotte Hornets can beat the Pacers and potentially play the Boston Celtics, I honestly believe that if LaMelo Ball can keep the game close against the Boston Celtics, I think they have a very realistic chance of beating the Boston Celtics. I don't think the Pacers have the depth right now to beat anyone. They're dealing with far too many injuries. Defensively, they're atrocious without Miles Turner protecting the rim. Sabonis is horrible in the pick and roll. He's great offensively. He's a great passer as well. But without Miles Turner really being the rim protector that you need, that defense looks completely different. They're also dealing with injuries to Jeremy Lamb. He was one of those non-pattern scorers that could come off the bench and get you a bucket almost any time. So he's been in and out of the lineup. I think he's out right now with another injury. So they're dealing with all types of injuries. I don't think Karis LeVert and Sabonis are going to be strong enough to beat the Hornets. But again, that's a steal. Karis LeVert and Sabonis, that's a lot of experience right there. It's just the Pacers have been dealing with so much controversy from coaching to players. I just think that Charlotte, I think they could rally up. I think they could rally up and really beat the Pacers. And then again, in that secondary play-in game, I think they can give the Boston Celtics a run for their money. Now, I do expect Boston to win that game. If I had to bet, I would put my money on Boston. But it wouldn't surprise me if Charlotte came out as the overall winner to collect and grab that 8th seed. Again, the Eastern Conference, the Eastern Conference disappointed me this year, to say the least. They definitely disappointed me. The Western Conference, we understand what happened over in the West with all the injuries. But you know what? I got to give a shout out to the Phoenix Suns and the Utah Jazz because they took care of business. They did what they were supposed to do. Irregardless of what other teams are doing or what injuries they were dealing with, those teams definitely took care of business to gain the 1 and 2 seed in the Western Conference. Those results are something that we definitely didn't predict. All right. Matchups to be looking at when the playoffs hit. There's 2 matchups that I want to focus in on. These are just matchups in each conference that here at FYF Sports we're going to really have an eye on. We're going to be doing separate live streams on these matchups as well. In the Eastern Conference, we have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat, the rematch. The Miami Heat have had the Milwaukee Bucks number over the last couple of years. It's time that the Bucks get some payback. Is Giannis Antetokounmpo, has he raised his level of IQ to deal with that wall that we know the Miami Heat are going to build? And then when we go to the Western Conference, we have the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers, a grudge match. I think the Clippers last year felt like they missed the opportunity to win a series that was very winnable, but they lost Porzingis to injury, and that really left them without that second star that they needed to really compete with the Clippers. Both of those matchups have the grudge match factor. In both of those matchups, the underdog can win. This year's playoffs is going to be crazy. You guys need to keep your eyes open. I think we're going to see more upsets this year than we have seen in the past. I think it's going to be unheard of. And like I said, we still have to consider the Lakers at a 7 or 8 seed winning out against a 1 or 2 seed. That's still an upset based on the seeding, even though Vegas is probably going to pick the Lakers to win out in some of these series if they can make it. But again, I want your thoughts on these matchups. I want your thoughts on my predictions. Also, let's hear your predictions. Who do you think is going to win out in these matchups? Who do you think is going to capture the 7 and 8 seed? All right, just let us know in the comments. All right, engage, interact with us. Let us know what you think. Y'all know if y'all put them comments in there, I'll respond back and I'll give you guys a little bit of feedback on what I think. But I think the NBA did a great job of building interest in this play-in tournament, marketing it, and then keeping everybody's eyes on the NBA, because generally around this time of year, we're looking at other things. We're waiting for the playoffs to start. There's usually like a dead week where there's really nothing going on. The NBA did a good job. They kept everybody in the sports books. They kept everybody on FanDuel and DraftKings, still trying to put together competitive lineups, not having to worry about 1,000 people getting set out for rest and things of that nature. So I think the NBA did a good job by adding this play-in tournament, and I think it's something that's going to be here to stay. All right, I think it's something that's going to be here to stay. Now, you're going to have proponents against this play-in tournament, because we all saw what the Denver Nuggets did with the Portland Trail Blazers. Looks like, the Denver Nugget team that we saw easily thumped the Portland Trail Blazers multiple times this year. But in being potentially a bit strategic, did the Denver Nuggets give up that game on purpose to avoid certain seedings? The same thing can be said for the Clippers. Some people say that the Clippers intentionally fell to the 4th spot. Again, there's a lot of things that a lot of players and teams and GMs are going to complain about. I want your thoughts on that as well. We'll talk about it in tonight's live stream, but we'll get to all of that stuff later. You guys have my predictions. I want your predictions in the comments. Make sure you're tuning in to FYF Sports tonight. We're going to be going live, and I know I've been saying we've been going to be going live, and we haven't been going live, but we're going to be going live tonight on Facebook and on Twitch. If you don't have Facebook, you can still tune in on Twitch. Also, check the community post, because if you don't have Facebook or Twitch, you can still join the live panel, and you can still listen from the backstage. And you can join the live panel by just checking the community post. I'm going to put the link to the StreamYard in the community post. Just click that link to join the live panel. If it's full, just keep clicking that link until we are able to get you in. If you can't get in there, just try to join us on Twitch, or try to join us on Facebook, where we will be going live to talk about the NBA play-in. We got to talk about the Hall of Fame, players that got in, players that missed the cut. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight here on FYF Sports. But appreciate you guys jumping in today. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, but we can't get to all right now. So as FYF Sportsman, has been another great podcast episode. Make sure you guys, again, smash the like, hit the subscribe. All right, engage in these videos. All right, YouTube's been playing with this algorithm. It's been something crazy, but you know what? That will not slow down FYF Sports. Or we're grinding to 25K. Hey, but it's FYF Sportsman. It's been another great podcast episode. I will be back with more sports and news later, but until then, it's FYF Sports. And we out.
Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the back like here I go again. Outside says the chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long? 8 day wake up and I thank God. Bad decision got you wishing you could say nah. My city gritty, you could get hit any day now. On my mama, I'ma move my family way out. With some 20s, 50s, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, zillions. I'm talking Amazon money, talking so much money I could mess around and buy Amazon. I been winning, I'm like, why me? I heard these labels wanna buy